Hey guys, Kakarot197 again. This time with a review of the high-grade Michaelis, the newer, easier to pronounce, but just as beautiful version of the Begwer bow, which was of course provided to me by my favorite online hobby store, Hobbyling Japan. Links to buy your own anti-Gundam mobile suit down below. And believe me when I tell you that the beauty of this model kit isn't just thanks to the amazing design of the Michaelis. The thick-thighed knightly design was transported brilliantly into model kit form with some really cool extra details. Just compare how bland the shield looks in the line art and how it looks on the model kit, or how the already detailed beam bracer looks even better. And the attention to detail really continues with the small extra touches, like the small parts on the heels poking through, or the thruster on the back skirt being molded in the correct color. You can still find one seam line on the upper arm, and I'm also not thrilled about the big nut mark there, but other than those, you're really not going to be bothered by seam lines or nut marks. So far, so amazing. The sticker sheet then might be a bit shocking to some people at first, because in the context of modern kits, this is absolutely enormous, but with only one exception, they are totally acceptable for a high grade. And on top of that, as you can see on mine, you won't be using 1/3 of them, because you have to choose between either active or deactive stickers for the beam bracer. And let's face it, those are the best way to have shiny parts on high grades, which is also what the other third of the stickers are for. They go underneath the clear purple parts to replicate the shininess as good as possible. It is less pronounced on the shoulders and the legs, but I really like the effect on the head. The one sticker that's a bit more stupid then is a gray one for the shield, so you might want to bring out some gray paint for that, which you can then also use for the inside of the beam bracer. And with that, the Michaelis is almost completely color accurate. You just need some black for the thrusters and some detailing on the body, but as you can see on mine, that can very easily be taken care of by a Gundam marker. And what also surprised me after the last few Witch from Mercury kits is that you have to look very closely to find any hollow parts at all. So straight out of the box, this thing already looks fantastic, and you only need to do a minimal amount of work to get this thing perfect. And talking about a minimal amount, the accessories. Because the Michaelis just doesn't need a lot of extra stuff either. It comes with a short shield that can generate a beam, which is a bit loose in there, but not to the point that it's going to fall out by itself. And then the second beam can go into the beam bracer for double beam saber fun. And that beam bracer is of course also the main event of this kit. Its main role is to open up and serve as an anti-Gundam antidote device, but it can also serve as a more traditional offensive weapon. As I just showed you, it can serve as a giant tulip-shaped beam saber, but it can also serve as a beam cannon and a beam machine gun. And it can even act as a remote-controlled funnel. For this, just simply disconnect it, attach one end of the included wire to the arm, and attach the other one to this connector piece that then connects to both the beam bracer and the included action base, which also has a few leftover parts. So even with just this set, you don't have to worry about being able to pose it. But that's already everything that it comes with, so moving on to the articulation. The head is on the usual double ball joint, going nicely up, down, and rotates around all the way. Then the shoulders are on the usual double ball joints that we've seen from the Witch from Mercury series, allowing them to go really nicely forwards, backwards, up, and down. But on my Michaelis at least, they are also very easy to disconnect. But that also makes it very easy to show off what the arm can do. Then the arm individually can also go up and down, although it is slightly hindered by this bulky shoulder armor, but then again, thanks to the ball joint, it's not going to affect it that much. And now what you might also be thinking about this arm with the giant beam bracer on it is that this thing is also going to affect the articulation. But well, it actually has a lot of hinges, not just on the front like I just showed you, but also on this thing, allowing it to move out of the way completely. So it actually is fully articulated. So it'll rotate around, bend at the elbow on only a single joint, and of course this one doesn't have a hand, so we quickly go to the other arm, just there we go. And the hand is of course on a ball joint, will wiggle around, turn around, and do everything a ball joint does. Then for the waist movement, there is no rotation at the waist itself, and instead it is all taken care of by two ball joints in the chest. So we do have some rotation up there, some nice side-to-side movement, and also some very nice forwards and backwards movement. Then the waist armor itself doesn't move at all, but that's really not a problem for the Michaelis whatsoever. The backwards movement is slightly hindered by the backskirt, but you can still move them aside to go all the way up and then all the way to the side as well, just like that. And yeah, those legs have full reign. This thing can do anything you want. One thing that then sounds a bit bad is that the knee is only on a single joint, but I think this is probably the best single joint that I have ever seen. I've seen double jointed knees perform worse than this one. And what's also really cool is that we do have some separating armor on the knee. What I was a bit disappointed by is that this is actually slotted in with a square peg instead of a round peg, so unlike what you might be expecting, it doesn't move. And then the really nice articulation continues on with the feet. Forwards and backwards is just on a ball joint, so nothing too spectacular. The same goes for the rotation, it is just on a ball joint, so it does what it does. But then the sideways movement goes really nicely all the way like that. And we also have a bit of a toe joint in there. And then for anyone wondering, the backpack doesn't do anything. So yeah, while the articulation might not sound too amazing on paper, especially with that single jointed knee, it is able to pull off a really nice variety of moves, partially thanks to the design of the mobile suit, even without an action base. But I would still advise you to get one, because not only are the best poses done in the air, combined with the beam bracer flying around all over the place, but its small feet do limit its stability in more actiony poses. Like, even when it's just standing straight, it's still not exactly stable. So as always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? Yes. For 1,600 yen, this thing has absolutely everything you'd want from a Gunpla. The price is good, it comes with all of the accessories it needs, it has a bonus action base for its main gimmick, and it just looks plain awesome. This kind of sleek, knightly design isn't something you see too often in Gundam, so it'll also definitely stand out in your collection. Whether you're a fan of Witch from Mercury, unique designs, or you're just looking for something that is simple to build but gives you a great result, this is a kit that I can highly recommend. So for size comparisons, here it is next to its predecessor, the Begwer Bow, and the Gundam Lafrith. The one thing that I do miss in the Michaelis is that it no longer has the claw feet from the Begwer Bow. It just feels like a straight up downgrade because it's also not like these tiny feet would give it that much more stability than the claw feet. But anyways, here it is next to two of its arch nemesis, Choo-Choo's Demi-Trainer and the Gundam Ariel. Never underestimate Choo-Choo. And then finally, here it is next to the standard-sized Gym Custom and the always bulky Zaku 3. And in case you were wondering, the Michaelis is definitely a pretty big machine. Not quite as big as the Zaku 3, but it does have a very bulky right arm. And that has been all for this review of this anti-Gundam Knight. Again, links to get your own down below. As always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope everyone watching has a great day, and I'll see you all next time.